Hi Freshman Seminar, and welcome to the most exciting part of your research projects. You should be logged into your Gmail account, and when you log in, you'll notice an email. It says it's from me because I sent it to myself, but it should on your computer say my name. This email will have your group letter, and when you click on it, you should see the names of your partners. These partners are here. If your names are not here, that means it's because you did not type in your Gmail address correctly, that you sent me an email address that was not from Gmail, or that you were absent. Either way, when you're done, you would click on the group folder and it would open up inside a new tab. The folder is empty right now because there are no documents, but what you would do is you would click Open in Drive. And once you have, you'll see that the folder is still empty at this point, but you would hit Create. You would create a document, create and share, meaning anybody in your group would be able to help out with it. You notice that it's untitled, so you're going to go up here and click Rename. You're going to rename it by the same way that it says in your research packet. So your last name, dot your first name, dot 2013, uppercase F, uppercase S, uppercase R, uppercase P. Last name dot first name dot 2013 freshman seminar research paper. Then you click OK. I want you to pay attention right here when it says all changes saved and saving. That's because it automatically saves. I need everybody to go ahead and change the font to Times New Roman, change the font size to 12. If you are one of those students that had the shortened assignment, you would put it to size 14. Several of you will also have it further increased to size 16. I will come around and tell you individually. The last thing that you need to do is change the line spacing to double. Now that you're done with that, you're going to put your name, enter, the class name, or freshman seminar, it doesn't really matter, and then the semester. So the semester is fall 2013. You would hit enter, enter again, center, and then the title. All of you will have this as the you will come up with something fun and clever or interesting or unique, and this will be your title. So mine is just a question or a statement. And that's just interesting. You might want to read and see what I have to say, but that's just a way for me to get everyone's attention. Colon, and then the second line is the same name that all of us will have. So that will be chronological study of concepts of social identity in American history. It's a pretty long, beautiful title. Enter. Typically, you would have a header up here with the page number, but we're not going to worry about that because we're just going to try and get it into Drive. And you would just hit enter, and we would align to the left. And we're going to go ahead and get our outline on there just so we don't forget about it later. So I'm going to put caps lock on. I hit caps lock. I put 1, I, a capitalized I. All right, introduction. The second section is going to be called 2, personal, stories, and interviews. The third section is identified issues in recent history. Identified issues in current events. 4, and I changed the dates up a little bit to just match what your research said, so please go ahead and use this heading. It would be identified issues in recent history, parentheses, 1900 to 2013. 5, identified issues in American history, 1700 to 1900. And the last one is conclusion. I'll go ahead and center it so I don't forget the formatting. I'm going to write works cited. And that's just so I don't forget about that later. I'll put a page break just so it's always on its own separate page, which is how it should be. So now I have this all here. When I get started, I need to remember to take the caps lock off. And I'm just going to be going back and forth from my research packet to here. I hit tab. I'm going to include a sentence, a quotation, or other interesting fact that hooks my reader in. I've seen some quotations, I've seen some poems, I've seen some personal anecdotes, and it's just very important that you include that hook. The next important feature is to make sure that you are explicit, that means clear, about what your research question is. I apologize. So once you know what your research question is, you're going to put that in here. You can be as mundane, as boring as my research question is, or you could provide a rationale, which I suggest. So you just describe something that you have seen lately that made this an issue for you. Malala was all over the news this summer. She was a girl who made a decision to fight for the rights of women in Pakistan to receive an education. She decided that she would be willing to die rather than let the Taliban continue its persecution of women. Then tell you, this intrigued me. I wondered if some similar, albeit less violent, issues were continuing and happening in the United States. This led me to my research question. Are women really equal to men? After you have that question, you would continue with your map. Remember, the map is how you would organize your paper. So, this paper will address my research question in the following through a study and reflection of my own personal stories, as well as interviews with colleagues, adults, classmates, and family members. After that, there will be a section dedicated to this concept of social identity in current events. Thirdly, there will be a section dedicated to a reverse chronological study focusing on recent American history. The last research section will be about this concept of social identity and gender roles in American history since 1700. I will conclude my paper with recommendations for the future, and hopefully end with a statement that is just going to lead them into a purpose. And hopefully this will clarify how far we have come while still acknowledging how far we need to go. That's my introduction. Obviously yours will be a little bit longer because you're hooked, but this is a good point. A recommendation is that your introduction should be a little bit over a page, which you're very close to. So then you get into your personal stories. All paragraphs should be referring to your sentence stem sheets that you got in class, and if you need some help with the sentence stems, please reach out. Each of these sections is not one paragraph. These sections will include multiple paragraphs, My personal stories might be 2 or 3 paragraphs, and each interview might be its own paragraph. All in all, this will eventually be several pages long. So you would begin with just a clarifying statement. In this section of my paper, the focus will be on my own personal experiences and the experiences of people that I know. Remember to explain who you are. I am a 28-year-old white female teaching in Houston, Texas. Why are you so interested in your topic? I have been interested in gender roles since I was a child. I remember my first time doing a team activity, and it was ballet. This was definitely not the activity for me. And I would continue talking about how I tried gymnastics, which is another female, quote, activity, and then I moved on into basketball and soccer. And I would talk about how that was really odd for me that during playground time in elementary school, I would try and play soccer with the boys, and all the girls would be on the side. I would talk about how the boys in the beginning wouldn't let me play until I showed that I was better than them, and then they did. And that was my first instance. I wanted to be a boy in 3rd grade. I even changed my name to Sam. And I would talk about why I did that, and so I could fit in, so I could be with people who did things that I was interested in. I didn't think that meant that I just didn't think that girls were able to do those things, so I thought that I needed to be a boy. It was a very, very rough time, and I eventually realized that maybe roles are going to change, so I tell all about that. That should end up taking about a page as well. I would tell several stories. I would tell one from right now and a couple from my childhood. After those stories are done, so just so you guys know, let's just change the font size so you know, I included stories from my past here. This should be about 1.5 pages. Then I'm going to go back another tab, continuing with these personal accounts, and I would tell about the interview, who the person you're interviewing is, what you learned, a direct quote if you could, and then continue. You should put all 3 there. Afterwards, when you're finally wrapping up, you would have that final paragraph. All of these stories and statements had a common theme. The theme was that we have been taught from childhood how women and men should act. We have been taught how our personalities should be. I will now go into a development on this idea through an analysis of recent events. And then you go into that. You have that same introductory paragraph, you have the same examples from there, and you have that same final concluding statement right there. You continue with this, you continue with that, and in your conclusion, it's very important that you wrap up with your final recommendations. So a brief summary, and recommendations for yourself, and recommendations for society in general. Once you're done with that, you're just going to hit File and Save. Well, you don't even actually have to do that. Just hit Control S, and you're done. So that's all you need to do. You would just hit XXX, and it's all there. So very good work. By the end of this should be about 10 pages. Congratulations.